Hey everybody, it is Radley here with the Angel Tarot Show. If you are listening to this via podcast, then hey from mindbodyspirit.fm. If you are watching this on YouTube, I can see you or you can see us anyway. So my guest today is Jennifer Love. So how much fun is it to have Jennifer Love and Radley Valentine on the same screen, same podcast? So Jennifer is a passionate, authentic, intuitive who uses divine guidance to help people love themselves and live fully in their bodies. She uses her intuitive gifts to communicate with angels and ancestors and spirit guides, oh my, in order to awaken the sacred divine guidance with her clients. Jennifer has mentored with world-renowned angel experts like me and some guy named, what is his, Kyle Gray. I don't know who that is. She has many metaphysical certifications and also is a licensed S-Factor instructor, a feminine movement practice which incorporates dance and stretching, muscular work, and pole fitness at its most soulful and intuitive style that is designed to open the female body into her fullest, freest, erotic expression. To learn more, her website is thejenniferlove.com. But the main reason that you are here is because we are going to talk about two archangels that are all about bringing love and romance and passion into our lives, whether that love is self-love or whether that love is the love of someone else, whether we are trying to foster relationships, whether we are trying to create new ones. These two archangels are the bomb, and their names are Raphael and Chamuel. So let's start quickly. No, we're not quickly. We have all the time in the world, right?
Yeah.
So we do. So the first one can be a surprise to people because it's Archangel Raphael. And people who are in the know with angels think of Raphael as being the big emerald green guy, which he is, and who rains down physical healing upon our bodies at a molecular cellular level, helps us to heal, which he does. But a lot of people don't know this whole aspect of Raphael, that is a big traveler. So he's the archangel of travel.
Right.
But he's a kind of a matchmaker, make me a match, catch me a catch me a catch. I don't even know if that's right. But and so Raphael has this whole element of him. And I have this tendency when I represent him in my card decks to make sure that there's this big emerald green heart on his chest that reflects that whole element. So your relationship with Raphael, I mean, it's like, let's get personal. Let's get personal. I'm going to sing all the way through this, I guess. But it's like, how did you first experience Raphael? What was that like for you?
I think more experiencing Raphael as a healer, doing energy healing and all of that. But I think also in my own, relationship journey and trying to find love for myself, I think Raphael is a matchmaker. Raphael helped me find my soulmate and multiple soulmates, because I do feel like we all have more than one soulmate.
Agreed.
And a soulmate is supposed to help you discover more about yourself. So I think, Raphael did help me, on my love and relationship journey, towards this place of ultimately self-love, right? And then I do like how, you have this green, heart imagery on a lot of the tarot decks, because I really resonate with this fact of, Raphael being very green heart chakra type of healing energy, right? And that's what I've kind of resonated with over the years, is not only, Raphael from this, divine physician energy healing, kind of my heart, but also, helping me on my love journey. And that's kind of my personal relationship.
Well, you know what I love about that is we just talked about the fact that Raphael is also the archangel of travel. So
Yeah,
you just blended
it's a
those. You said,
journey.
I love
Yeah.
journey, because I
Hmm.
do think that love is a journey.
I
You know,
do too. Yeah.
it's
And a never ending one, right? Because though even though I'm very happy in my relationship now, it's still a lesson, it's still a journey, and I'm still learning things all the time about myself through my partner.
mhm.
So I think it's a never ending journey, right? We're always learning about ourselves, and growing, and we always want to grow within ourselves. I think if you stop growing, that's kind of stagnant, right? So we always want to be growing on our spiritual journey and loving ourselves, I think.
Do too. And and I have such a whole theory on this, which you've probably heard me say before, but I have this philosophy, this thought that uh, imperfection is perfection in relationships. This whole concept that if we want this perfect person, and yet if someone showed up for us who was seemingly perfect in all these ways, and there was never discord of any kind, or never any kind of like challenge or conflict that caused us to grow, that we would be so bored out of our gourds
Yeah.
that we would drop them in a New York minute.
Well,
Because
and I've said this to my clients many times. When I first started, kind of a dating journey after I got divorced, I would kind of present this perfect person to the people I was dating. And I didn't realize why they weren't connecting with me. I was like, well, isn't this, who you want? You want this like perfect version of me. And I didn't realize that, no, they can't connect with someone who's not authentic. It's not the authentic you're presenting. So no one's going to connect with a fake person. And it doesn't, it makes sense when you say it out loud, but when you're actually, on a date and you're trying to be this like, and everyone's going to present their best self on the first date, right?
sure,
But when you're trying to present this like fake perfect person all the time, no one is going to connect with that. So it's much easier to just, try to be your authentic self, and then someone eventually is going to go, yeah, I like you, I like you for who you are. And no one is going to be able to fall in love with you unless you're your true authentic self, which is, it's beautiful, and that's who you should always strive to be, is you, because you're perfect the way you are, and imperfect at the same time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Imperfection is perfection.
Right,
It's
right.
that's the proverbial sand in the oyster that creates the pearl, right?
Yeah,
And
that's a great analogy. Yeah.
it really just is. And it's like, it is their imperfections that cause us to grow, that cause the relationship to grow. And so we may think we want this perfect person, but I don't think I don't. And you mentioned soulmates. And so that
Yeah.
whole concept of soulmates, and that whole concept of twin flames, and that whole thing, that I think people think they want that because they think, oh, it'll just be intense and perfect and easy peasy. And it's like, be careful what you ask for, because it's like, soulmates and twin flames are just, that's a lot of work. A
Yeah.
lot
Maybe you just
of
want to
work.
date first.
Right. Exactly. It's like, that's what I always say. It's like, I look at it as that there's these three typical relationships. There's the relationship that's just this lovely person that you're in a partnership with, and you're on the path together, and you're in this incarnation together. And then there's soulmates, which is this person who's known you from other lifetimes, and they know where your buttons are, and they push them on
Hmm.
purpose. And
Yeah.
then
It's
there's
very
the whole,
painful. Yeah.
right? Yeah. And then there's the whole twin flame thing, which is a
Yeah.
whole like other off the chart, be careful what you ask for.
Right.
And I do want to sort of like back up and say that I think that Jennifer and I agree that soulmates don't have to be romantic. You can
Yeah.
have many soulmates in your
Right.
life, and I
Your
do.
child.
Exactly. Your child, your a parent, a sibling,
Yeah. A friend.
right? I always wonder about identical twins, because to me it's like,
Yeah.
that has to be a soulmate thing. It has.
Yeah. My brothers are identical twins, and I definitely feel like that is a soulmate thing.
It has to be. It just has to
Yeah.
be. So here we have this whole Raphael, and before we go on to the other one, I just want to like ask, because I like to try to have our listeners have this kind of concept of the personal aspect of a particular archangel. So for me, Raphael, and let me back up. Listeners have heard me say this before. It's like all archangels or guardian angels or angels, period, are going to present themselves in such a manner that it's a way that you can connect with them. So I'm a person, it probably comes through, who really likes humor. I really like to laugh. And so my angelic connections tend to have humor in them. I find the archangels to have quite astonishing senses of humor. And Raphael is definitely one. I think of Raphael. I had this physician when I lived in Denver who was the best physician you could possibly have. Hi, Dr. Coleman, who had, it's like, even when we were talking about something serious, I mean, his hand was on you, but he was making, he was like going, well, there was a joke, there was a lightening of it. There was a, let's not go down the deep, dark rabbit hole if we don't have to.
Absolutely.
And I think of Raphael that same way, this whole energy of, it's so good natured. It's so, positive, but positive from the standpoint of this cosmic physician.
Mhm.
And I even read somewhere in all of my research books that said that Raphael was considered to be the friendliest of the archangels. I thought that was kind of hilarious in a way, just because I think that all the archangels are friendly, and I don't know how you
Yeah.
measure that.
Yeah. How do you rate that? I'm not sure.
I don't either. And yet I read it like multiple times in multiple books that people believe that. And maybe I've always wondered if that's because it's such a physical relationship with
Mhm.
Raphael,
Yeah.
that people are like, okay, they're connecting with it a little bit more. But what about you? I mean, what is your personal emotional relationship with Raphael?
I think it was Kyle Gray that kind of planted the idea in me that, you know, angels or archangels can appear in a human form to you as celebrities. So they,
Actually, I've never heard him say that, but now that you think about it, personal conversations I've had with him, right? Okay.
it's funny because I think ever since years ago, ever since then, it's kind of it. And angels will always appear to you in a way that's, comfortable and familiar to you. And maybe it's because I live in Southern California and that's a thing, that they, come to me as a celebrity face that feels comfortable to me. I've seen it a million times and whatever. So, and of course, they're not always even human, right? Or appear human. It could be a beam of light. It could be a color. It could just be a feeling in your body that feels comfortable and safe. And that's great. It's different for everybody. Like you said, it's different for everybody. For me, Archangel Raphael looks very much like the image on the lover's card in the deck that's Angel Wisdom Tarot cards.
Yeah.
So this image of Archangel Raphael, he's a younger Caucasian male, he's got dark hair, it's kind of wavy, curly, falling to his shoulders. To me, he looks very much like the actor Michael Sheehan. He's Klaus Hargreaves in The Umbrella Academy, if you've ever seen that show. So that's it. He's got like a beard, stubble, that's who he looks like to me. And so every time that's just the image that I get in my head, and so it's comfortable and familiar to me. And that's, he's kind of my buddy, and that's the relationship. And he's a very funny guy. He cracks jokes, and we just have a very like familiar type relationship. He's almost like a brother, and in that TV show, he's a brother. He's just a dude. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel, that relationship feels to me. It's very comfortable, it's very familiar, it's very brotherly, and he's funny.
See, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to unsee that now because I love the Umbrella Academy. I love it.
Yeah.
So and he is literally my
He's
favorite character on
Klaus.
the Umbrella. He's my favorite character on Umbrella Academy.
That's my
Uh,
favorite character too.
yeah, I love him. So I think that's awesome. So now that's going to be stuck in my head. So if you are just tuning in, you are listening to the Angel Tarot Show on mindbodyspirit.fm and on YouTube. And my guest is Jennifer Love. And we are talking about relationship and romantic elements of working with the Archangel. So up next is Archangel Chamuel, whose name means the eyes of God. And so Chamuel for me is one of several archangels that in working with my previous, with the mentor I had when I was much younger, um, had a tendency, I felt like, to water down this particular archangel. And because Chamuel is known as the archangel that is the eyes of God, that it was basically Chamuel knows all, sees all, it tells all. And so if you've lost your car keys, here's Chamuel. And I don't lose my car keys. So my phone, that's a whole different other story. And that's why Lee has a phone so I can call myself. But to me, it was like, well, he's just this archangel of finding things. And there was this whole element of also helping us to find the perfect romance or partner, the perfect career. I got real obsessed with Chamuel from the standpoint of the archangel of personal and global peace. So that's where I kind of like got connected with Chamuel. There are, we talked about Raphael and his emerald green. And so for me, Chamuel is this pale green, almost a peridot green. But there's another philosophy that's very prominent with Chamuel that finds Chamuel to be
Pink.
right. And you see
Yeah.
the pink.
I do see the pink. And I think the reason I feel like there's two different colors is also related to the heart chakra and it's the green and the pink, right? The higher level, the thinking is the higher level of the heart chakra is pink. And I feel Chamuel is about love and self-love, even though the name is, he who sees, but I really feel like it's not about purpose or seeing, it's really about self-love, which is kind of contradictory or not the conventional thinking, maybe. I don't know. I lost your sound. There
And
you
it
go.
is conventional thinking.
Yeah.
That in at least one philosophy,
Yeah.
that Chamuel is this archangel that's very associated with love. And I think that's a little bit maybe the pink too. But tell us about that whole aspect of Chamuel.
Yeah. I feel like Chamuel is really connected to us really understanding that, the angels really see us through the eyes of love, and that we really are perfect in their eyes, where, not perfection that, we have to do everything perfect, but that we are, really part of the divine. We are really children of God or the divine, and that it's not like nothing we do is wrong, but that we are really just part of, this greater universe, this divine, um, universe, and that nothing we really ever do is wrong. It's kind of just part of this whole fabric of our lives. And not that anything you can do can kind of be on a path or off a path, but that just, we're all, just like we said, on a journey to kind of discover more about ourselves. And you could kind of if you see through the eyes of your guardian angel, or the archangels, you'd really be a lot more kinder to yourself. And I often say to my clients, like, think about how your best friend would talk about you. They wouldn't really be criticizing you the way that you talk so harshly about yourself sometimes. We're like, oh, gosh, my hair looks terrible today, or wow, my skin broke out, or whatever it is. Man, I really put on 10 pounds, or all these harsh, horrible things we say about ourselves sometimes. Oh, I'm so dumb. Why did I forget that? And
I'm such a klutz.
Yeah, I'm such a klutz, or
like,
why did I make that mistake? I've done that before. Your angel would never talk about you that way, and neither would your best friend. So, and would you say that to your best friend? Probably not. So how would you treat, a person in your life that you love and adore?
Right.
Try and treat yourself that way. And that's probably how your guardian angel sees you too.
And I love something you said, where you basically said the archangels seeing through the eyes of the archangels.
Yes.
And the archangel,
and that's how Chamuel ties in. Yeah,
exactly. And so this whole concept, therefore, of seeing other people through Chamuel's eyes, and the whole standpoint of, therefore, finding a way to love somebody in a way that is meaningful, because you're seeing them through angelic eyes, through the help of Chamuel.
And I kind of felt that's how like the world peace thing ties in, because that's how you could see even people that you hate through the eyes of love. Even like, how do you love a terrorist? Well, they're probably just, very misguided, or, they had a harsh upbringing, or, they were indoctrinated wrong, or, so if you could even see people that you really don't like through the eyes of love and feel compassion for them, then we could probably have world peace.
Yeah. How do you see Chamuel? What celebrity is Chamuel?
Again, like, it's the imagery on cards, and it kind of puts these images in your head. It's kind of like a David Bowie hybrid with like a younger kind of actor and that kind of thing. So it's just like a blonde, short cropped hair, really pale skin, blue eyes. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's really attractive.
So it was funny for me, because I started, a couple of years back, started like really trying to channel the archangels. It became a thing that I do, that I love. And and Angel Wisdom Tarot cards, I had like a sort of established this look for Chamuel. And so that's what I was expecting. And it is not what showed up at all. It's not what I got at all. And when Chamuel showed up for me in a channeling, I was like, wait a minute, you look familiar. And it took me a minute, and I was like, oh my God, it's Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
So
cool.
literally, Luke Skywalker showed up. And I mean, the young one, Star Wars one, the one that looks like he's 12 years old. That's who showed up for me. And it was such a shock to me, because it's like, that's the thing about working with the angels, is that you can have a preconceived notion, and here they are, here to bust it up. And one of the things that for me that was a little bit challenging with Chamuel was that he showed up, and in my working with him, I was like, oh my God, you're a therapist. This is the whole personal peace thing. And so he literally showed up asking the kind of questions that you'd expect a therapist to ask. It's like where you ask them a question and they go, yeah, but what do you think?
Oh, that's
this whole thing got turned around. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a therapy session. This is why, it feels so not like what I normally would experience. But that's just that's a little bit of a diversion. So let's talk about your work with Chamuel, with your clients when it comes to self-love, because I know that's a really big thing for you. And then
Yeah.
we can talk about the whole like love of other.
Yeah, I often recommend to my clients to try to connect more either with self love or with Archangel Chamuel to use crystals. And I like rose quartz for that reason. So I have a lot of rose quartz, but I find rose quartz very easy to work with. It's very like soft and gentle, and it helps people connect to their heart, to self-love. And Archangel Chamuel, I mean, I don't know if it helps uh, everyone connect to this archangel. I find it does help me, so I recommend it to my clients. But I do think it helps with self-love. So I usually recommend people get rose quartz, have it around them. I do feel like it's very high vibe, so it can't hurt you. Nothing can hurt you picking up some rose quartz. So yeah, I think other things for Archangel Chamuel, I think having, it sounds a little simple, but having compassion for other people. It really does help you have more compassion for yourself. And it's all about that, seeing through the eyes of the angels, doing kind acts for others. It kind of gets you out of yourself. One of the things that people can get very discouraged when they're dating and relating is getting very into themselves. And so one of the things that kind of helps you break out of that rut is doing acts of service for others. So when people are getting very down on themselves, dating and all of these things, I often recommend, I like give a prescription almost to people, like go volunteer and do something.
Yeah.
Go do something for somebody else. Even if you can't go volunteer, how about you like go help your family, clean up their house or just something, do something for somebody else. Do one act of kindness for somebody else today. Because it really helps you break out of your own kind of self pity party. And it kind of just makes it's really selfish, but it makes you feel good about yourself to do an act of compassion for somebody else.
Well,
And it brings you more love to yourself. You actually admire yourself more. For like, wow, I did something nice for somebody else.
right. The good you do comes back to you.
Yeah.
I know. So it's funny you bring up rose quartz. I have a dear friend who I think you might know, the family constellations counselor, John Moore. And John literally carries pink quartz, rose quartz everywhere he goes.
I do too.
And he buys this stuff by the like 10-pound bag or something, which actually is probably not that heavy, but he buys it by the bag, and he's doing it because he's leaving it everywhere.
Oh, wow.
He'll toss it into a fountain. He'll go to
I do give it away to my clients, like
right.
these little hearts. Like,
Well, right. Or he'll leave it at Disney, or he'll like put it at, he'll go into a grocery store, and if it feels really wacko in there, he'll put it with the green beans. I don't know. I mean, it's just like he's putting it.
That's great. I should start doing that.
Right. And I don't even think he necessarily knows.
Spreading joy and love into the world.
Right. He's just doing it. It's like this thing he does.
Yeah.
And, it's that whole vibrational connection where he's doing this thing that has an angelic connection, and yet he doesn't even know. And so let's talk a little bit about if I feel like Samuel, well, actually, this makes me want to bring up one other archangel, and that is Raguel.
Mm-hmm.
And Raguel's name means the friend of God. He comes in a pale blue. And I'm just bringing him up because Raguel is this archangel that is known to bring harmony to relationships that are in discord. Is the way I like to say it. And so if we can have these relationships where it's like, I already have a romantic relationship, I'm already committed, I'm here, I'm staying, it ain't what I want. And so um, we have this aspect of Raguel helping out, but Chamuel helping us to like reconnect that heart to heart connection with someone, and possibly even Raphael providing some sort of healing that goes along with that. And then we also have the people who are alone, lonely, and they don't want to be. And I feel like in my conversations with you over the years that it's like you are very focused on the self-love healing, but you are also Jennifer Love. I mean, you're here to really help people who are on that path towards a desire for someone in their life that brings passion and romance and a relationship that is long lasting. Do you do an assessment? I mean, do we start with the self-love before you even talk to them about the love of others? Or do you just go with where they are? Or how does that work in your counseling with other people?
I usually meet people where they are. People come to me because, they're having some kind of problem. So it's all about, what the desire of my client is. So, if they're having a problem with their relationship, I'm going to help them with their relationship. Because I find like you can't guide people to where they don't want to be.
Right.
Even people, there are people who like insist, I'm single, I'm happy being single, I don't ever want to be in a relationship, I'm perfectly happy, being alone, and I have so much self-love and I'm good, and I honestly don't believe that
Okay.
because I feel like people were meant for connection. So I do believe that if you have a very healthy network of friends and community, and that is totally possible. But if you're like isolated alone in your house and you don't go anywhere and don't do anything, I think that's extremely unhealthy.
That is
Because people
unbelievable.
are meant for connection. I'm not saying you have to have a romantic relationship, but you have to have human connection. You have to have a community of people. You have to have friends who support you, or family, or chosen, or something. Because if you don't have human connection, you are going to get sick and wither and die.
I,
So
if
we are meant for connection. Humans are meant for connection. So I'm not saying you have to have a romantic connection, but you have to have human relationships to foster your health. We're meant to be loved. And you can be loved by friends, you can be loved by your family. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. But so that's another issue. But yes, I meet people where they are. So if people are coming to me saying, I am having trouble with my romantic partner, I need your assistance, then we work there. If people are coming to me single and they're saying, I really want to be in a relationship, then we're going to like diagnose where they are there. If they're like, dating and like having this repeating, I keep meeting the same type of person and I don't want to, we're going to figure out why that is. If they're not meeting anyone, we're going to say, why is that? Are you not leaving your house?
right,
Which is often the case.
right.
Maybe you should get out there some more and be more social. So yeah, I just try to meet people where they are and figure out what's going on. And we're coming out of a pandemic still.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people, they just haven't gone out and done, these social things that we were used to doing 3 years ago. Some people are very mentally not where they're depressed. We have a lot of anxiety. We have a lot of, mental health issues that weren't there 3 years ago. Some people aren't as physically active as they should be. And so it's not really a prescription for like mental health as much as it is for physical activity, which, I'm not a doctor, I don't claim to be, but I do know that moving your body is important. And I'm a big proponent of embodiment. So I'm always like, not only trying to get my clients on like a spiritual path, but like you can't neglect your body, because we are souls in a physical package, and you can't ignore the physical package. And I'm not
Right.
saying like you need to be gorgeous and fit and whatever, but like you have to house this soul in a healthy body. And you have to take care of it, because it's the only one you get this lifetime, this spin around, the earth is, this is the only one you get. So you better take care of it. And you don't have to be like, super skinny and fit or whatever, but you have to be able to like walk up a flight of stairs.
Where maybe the soulmate is. So,
Maybe, yeah.
you don't know.
They could be, across the country. So, you have to be able to like get on the plane and go over there.
Now you're talking about where I was almost headed. But because, I was going to ask you, what do you see the most as being the number one block to somebody finding that person that they're looking for?
They don't love themselves.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah. And they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They're not aware. The awareness is not there.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed so often is I have a tendency to use this analogy of fish in the sea. And I've seen so many people over time who are fishing in the same pond and not finding anything. And that's an analogy for maybe somebody that lives in Chicago, and they've lived in Chicago for years and years and years, and literally nothing is working. They're on all the websites, they're active, they're doing the things they ought to be doing, nothing is happening. And I like to use the terminology. It's like, well, maybe you need to cast your net much farther and wider.
Yeah.
And then they move, and then they meet somebody, and so to me, it's like this whole concept of like, the universe is always looking for a balanced life for us. And if and I'm picking on Chicago, Chicago's lovely, but it's like, if Chicago is not the place where your vibe is going to be the healthiest for the time that you have left on this planet, or at least the next block of time that you are spending on this planet, I think the universe is not going to connect, not going to hook you up.
Yeah.
It's not. It's because it's like, here's your bait, your perfect love is in Charleston. So
Right.
pack up. And then they do, and then they get there and they do find somebody, but all these other things happen in their life. And I think that's partially not just because they're vibrationally in the right place now, but also because it's like they got the relationship thing out of the way. And it's like, it's very difficult, I think, to focus on relationship, career, all of these things at once, because at least in my experience with my clients, it's like relationships is going to like top everything. It's going to be the
I
thing.
think so too. Yeah. I think I do very important work.
Yeah.
If you're not happy in your relationship, everything else in your life seems like it's under a dark cloud. If
Right.
you're in a fight with your romantic partner, you can't concentrate on your work.
Right.
If you're in a fight with your romantic partner, like, you are not nice to your children. It affects everything in your life. So you want that part of your life to be very harmonious, because it affects everything else that you do. You touched on a lot of different things in that point that you just made. There's a lot of divine timing. If maybe you need to get your career sorted, and then you're going to meet your romantic partner. Maybe your soulmate is getting their career sorted, and then you're supposed to meet. Maybe you need to move out of Chicago, and then you meet your romantic partner. I need to emphasize that love is timeless. You're never too old for love. There are people who meet in their 80s and they're so happy. It's not about how old you are or how young you are. It's really about finding a person that's a good fit for you. And yeah, and the kind of like narrow constraints I wanted to touch on, because in dating apps you have like sorting criteria. So you can sort people by age, education,
Right.
height. There's all these different criteria. You can sort by their hair color and all these different things.
Okay.
And for the longest time, I would sort by, education and height. And so I would only date people who were over 6 feet tall,
Okay.
because I like to wear high heels. Very shallow thing to be sorting on, right?
Okay.
I'm 5'4". There's no reason I need to only date people who are 6 feet tall.
Those are some high heels you want to wear if you
Yes,
need a
it's
6 foot
because I want to
person.
wear high. Yeah. So it's a very like bizarre, shallow thing to be sorting on, height. Um, and then for some reason, this last go around, I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter that much. And so I lowered it to 5'10". Met my
Right.
boyfriend who's 5'11". He's perfect. So yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, maybe, all of the criteria you're sorting for is not that important all of the time. Maybe things like kindness, honesty, generosity, maybe those things a little bit more valuable and important when you're dating. Obviously, those things should always be more important, but sometimes these dating criteria on apps that we're sorting with cut out a lot of the people that you really should be considering.
Right.
Yeah, that's my
Yep. I totally
soapbox
get
for
it.
today.
When I met Lee on Match.com,
Yeah,
and
there's just so many people you have to sort by something.
and
But
it's like I did not do that physical criteria sort. I'm gonna like just go, I didn't. I don't even think it would have occurred to me to do that.
I
So,
had to. There's like thousands of people.
well, where you are, yeah.
Yeah.
But for me on the gay side, where I was at the time, it's like there weren't thousands of people, but it felt like thousands of people because I went on a lot of really bad
Yes, I
dates.
did too. Yes.
A lot of really bad dates, and including one guy I still remember who he was Sag, and I was like, and I'm Sag, and I was like, well, that'll be interesting. I wonder what that looks like. And we both really liked each other, and also were like, but we would never date each other. It was like, you're a great guy. I like you. I like you too. There is nothing here other than friends.
Mhm.
And it's like, and I love that because my thing is intelligence really matters to me.
Yes.
Brainiac
Yes.
matters to me.
Same to me.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, it just does. And the whole aspect of the physicality did not really kind of come into it. But I was actually just talking about this morning with our dear friend Dougal Fraser, about this whole concept of people are so scared to be disappointed that
Yeah.
they won't take risks.
Yeah. Well, and I think people have been very hurt, and so they don't want to risk being vulnerable again.
Right.
So it's hard to risk that. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like, what is the worst thing that happens? You spent an hour and 30 minutes with somebody that you don't want to date. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but now I check that person off. And I feel like that it's like in the exploring we learn.
Right.
It's like we can go on a date and go, well, I did not know that I did not want that, but I know now. Now I
People are
know.
so afraid to like waste time in this concept of time. And I'm like, but you have so much time. But what's the alternative? You're wasting time watching TV for an hour? Like, that's a waste of time too.
It's a total waste of time to sit there and watch the Real Housewives of Pick a City here. It's like, so you're not afraid to waste time,
Right.
waste an hour.
You're not afraid to waste time doing that.
People who are train wreck, who you do not know, or at least people who are portraying people who are a train wreck, because I still think it's that. But but you can't like go meet somebody and go, what if you just are like lazy and there was somebody that you were so amazingly balanced for. And
Nobody
so,
wants to be rejected, right? Nobody wants to put
well, that's
themselves out and be
you're right.
rejected.
You're right. Maybe you
But,
feel them, they don't like
it,
you.
it's okay to like, I always came to the date going, but you barely know me. You don't even know me. So how you're rejecting this like 5 minutes of me? Okay, I don't mind that because you don't really know me anyway.
But that says something though, doesn't it? It says
Yeah,
something about why I don't want to date you anyway.
right. Yeah.
This is how you choose your personal
Yeah,
interactions.
you're rejecting me based on very superficial things or the way that I look. And so that means nothing to me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So where can people find you? How can they connect with you if they want to talk more?
I'm at thejenniferlove.com. I have a new class coming
Oh,
out.
yeah.
It's
Yes.
on feminine archetypes. It's starting on July the 15th. So that's on my website at thejenniferlove.com. So I'd love to see you there.
Okay.
If you're interested in that, that'd be great.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, guys, we've been talking to Jennifer Love about Archangel Raphael, Archangel Chamuel, and love. I could
Thank
pick
you
a
so
song that
much
I
for
want.
having me, Radley. So fun.
I'm so glad you could come be with me. Okay, you guys, hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week on the Angel Tarot Show.
Bye.